A couple of weeks back, I argued that we should follow in the footsteps of Norway after their success with the sugar tax. But it turns out maybe its Nordic neighbor, Finland, is where we should be looking for inspiration. Yes, Finland, the nation named happiest in the world, most literate in the world, safest in the world, and now they have among the most progressive governments in the world. Not only did they just solidify near-gender parity, with 47% of its current parliament comprised of women, 4 of the 5 women they just elected to lead the country's coalition government are under age 35. And they also elected the world's youngest prime minister, Sanna Marin, who's 34 years old. Marin, by the way, was the first in her family to go to college, and after her parents separated when she was young, she was primarily raised by her mother and a female partner. Back to Finland. I guess it's not all that surprising that they managed to so far surpass us in gender parity in their representation. They were, after all, among the first in the world to let women vote and run for office. That was in 1906. They also elected their first female prime minister in 2003. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., after the 2018 midterms, which were considered a banner election year for women in Congress, they still only represent a quarter of the Senate and less than a quarter of the House. That puts the U.S. 76th in worldwide ranking of gender representation in government. And that leaves us at a real disadvantage because, among other things, women in office advance family-friendly policies, such as pay equity and health care, far more than men do. If you needed proof, an introduction of quotas for women in parliament in India resulted in as much as a 12% decline in maternal mortality and an almost 2% increase in the country's economic performance, according to the Brookings Institute. And in Canada, when the number of women in government increased sixfold between 1976 and 2009, mortality rates declined over the same period by almost 40%. But don't just look at the numbers. Look at the policies in Finland. Their universal education system is among the most successful in the world. They've announced plans to go carbon neutral by 2035. They've been beta testing a universal basic income, and they're the only country in the EU with falling homelessness rates. But the hurdles to finish like equity in this country, they are real. Here's Senator Amy Klobuchar at a recent debate.
Women are held to a higher standard. Otherwise, we could play a game called Name Your Favorite Woman President, which we can't do because it has all been men, including all vice presidents being men. And I think any working woman out there, any woman that's at home, knows exactly what I mean.
And some of the rest of us do, too.